welcome everyone in the room and connected to us virtually to the first FAO Food Safety Technical Network webinar for 2016. I'd like to thank Cornelia and Valentina for pulling this together. I know it's been a lot of work. Thank you. In a changing and a very complex FAO, communication is critical to keep us on target and delivering as one, truly as one. And at the same time, our schedules are so full, it's hard to find the time to communicate. And in this context, the FAO technical networks are an important tool. They are an important tool to find that right balance between the time we have to communicate and the importance and the quality of our communication. Because we are each free to choose the technical networks that cover areas that are important to us. And once we've joined the network, it is up to us to determine the program and the activities of the network. So we have a little bit of time, but if we invest the thought and the energy, the technical networks are a powerful means for effective and efficient communication on the things that are most valuable and relevant to us. So I am looking forward, we are looking forward to learning together how we can best use this tool to help us communicate better and deliver better. And we look forward to your feedback, your suggestions, your inputs that keep moving us in the right direction with the technical networks. And the right direction is giving you what you need. Speaking of giving you what you need, one of the topics that all of you agreed was of critical importance to you was Codex. And at this point, I would like to hand over to Sebastian to introduce today's webinar.
Hello. Good morning. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sebastian Hjelm, and I'm here to talk to you or to introduce this webinar to you today. I will be followed by two of my colleagues who will give a deeper insight into some of the topics that I will be mentioning here in the beginning. First, just let me start by saying that Codex, or the Codex Alimentarius Commission, did, I would like to say approve, but they didn't actually approve because there wasn't enough time. But they discussed a Codex communication strategy that had been prepared by us here in the Codex Secretariat last year and decided to move forward in its implementation. We have now been implementing this communication strategy for more than a year. They can't hear me?
Do they hear me? Do you want to come here and speak? Can you get closer to the mic?
If it's... Can people hear me better now? People in the room can hear me, but what about you people in other parts of the world? Is there some way that we can get a thumbs up?
It's only one person.
Okay, sorry for that interruption, and I'm sorry, I'm very sad for you, that one person out there, but nothing I can do in this end to help you, really. So we are now we are now implementing the Codex communication strategy. It's a 2-year strategy, but obviously after we've implemented it for 2 years, we will see where we are, and then we will continue affecting changes to how we work. Obviously, we are improving our communication so that we will be able to reach you better. Not only the Codex contact points and the observers, which are our natural allies and colleagues in this venture, but basically anybody out there globally who is interested in the work we do. So in that sense, the communication strategy is in a way divided in two. There's the general parts by which we try to reach the general public, and then there's the particular tools that we use to engage with members and observers. The idea of this talk today is, like Renata said, that we are trying to bring the work of Codex close to you and and show that Codex forms an integral part of the food safety technical network. And what we hope to get out of this webinar is that more of you out there will know about Codex and our web tools and will start to use them. And by doing so, we will gain experience in what works and what doesn't, and then we will continue improving what we're doing. Let's see. Okay, sorry, just getting the slides started there. I will be mentioning the key developments that we have been putting out during the last year. And one big change that some of you might have noticed is that the Codex website domain name has changed. And with that there's also been some other changes, or some changes are coming. I will also mention the online registration system, which is probably familiar to most of you if you have worked as Codex contact points. But for those of you who haven't used it, I'll just mention briefly what that looks like. Then we have a forum for electronic working groups, which we are working intensively right now, and we're trying to use that more and more, because obviously having an electronic forum for discussions will ease our work and your work. Then I'll briefly mention document distribution and changes that have been enacted there. Then we'll talk briefly about the Codex standards and the way we are putting them online and hopefully making them more accessible to you. Then my colleague David will mention our social media efforts, and then finally my other colleague Mirko Montuori will talk to you about the online commenting system. And I shan't be speaking for very long, and David a little bit longer, but the main topic of this webinar today is the online commenting system, so please do not leave before you have heard that part. Right, the Codex website, as you all know, looks like this. It's looked like this for some years now. We used to have our own Codex domain. That was codex.alimentarius.org. Due to changes in FAO communication, that website domain has now changed, and it's now the rather awkward fao.org/FAO-WHO Codex Alimentarius. For those of you who worry about remembering this rather difficult web domain, I will tell you that the old Codex web domain will still be working at least this year, and there hasn't really been any decisions taken on what will happen with it after January 2017. But hopefully we will come to some sort of agreement on being able to continue using the old website, because some of you don't venture to the website so often, and then it can be confusing if you can't find us anymore in the website that you know. But while the domain name has changed, we are also in the process of renewing our website completely. You see a screen save of what it looks like now when it's in development. The plan is that by the end of this month, May 2016, we will have launched the new website. And the idea is obviously that that website will be the central place to go to whomever you are and whatever your interests in Codex are. If you're a Codex contact point, you will find all the necessary information there. If you're just a person from the general public interested in Codex Alimentarius, you will also find pages of interest which will take you deeper into your knowledge about Codex Alimentarius. The online registration system, as I said, has been working for some years now. We're continually improving it, and we do this very much on the basis of comments received from Codex contact points and from host governments. This is really an essential tool, not only for us, but also for the host governments or anybody who is responsible for hosting a Codex meeting where you need registration. Obviously, it makes the whole registration process easier, but it also enables you to pick out the information you need in advance of the meeting. It will help you print out lists of participants, and it will also enable you to print cards for delegates and so forth. So do look into this one if you are interested. The online forum for electronic working groups is something that we started after the last commission meeting last year. Slowly there has been more and more working groups popping up working through this instrument. This is, if you wonder what this instrument is for, this is basically a tool by which we can get rid of emailing sessions that used to be an integral part of how the electronic working groups meet. So having access to this forum for electronic working groups means that anybody can, when an electronic working group is active, anybody can access that working group and follow the threads of discussions happening in that working group and comment on that. And so it really helps you participate, because you don't have to be by your computer at a specific time of the day or a specific time of the working of the electronic working group. And obviously having this forum will also generate an electronic library of all the discussions that have been held during that electronic working group. Document distribution has changed a lot, I would say, over the last decade. We haven't sent out paper documents for some years now, but until last year we used to send out all documents as email attachments, or then you were able to access them on an FTP server in FAO. This has now changed, and those of you who have been going to Codex meetings will have noticed that the documents are now distributed through the meetings page on the Codex website. And when you go and click on a meeting web page for any meeting that is coming up in the near future, you will see that all the documents that have been uploaded can be accessed, and depending on which language you are interested in, you just go and click on that icon. The good thing with working through this way is that once again it forms a very credible record of when and how documents have been distributed, and at a glance you can see which documents are available and which aren't. We think this is a great improvement from the old electronic files that we were sending out or letting you know that existed. But as with the other tools, also if you find that some parts of this document distribution system is not working, we're very happy for any kind of feedback that you can give on this system. The Codex standards have also been found online for some time. We are right now in the process of making them much more searchable. Instead of just having a list of current standards, there will be different ways of approaching the Codex, the whole Codex Alimentarius, if you wish, in order to find the documents that you are looking for. You will be able to search these standards based on what kind of standard it is, from which committee it has emerged, or based on themes and search words. This feature isn't quite finished yet. So, of course, you will be able to find all the Codex standards online already, but if you're looking for the effective search functions, those will only be made available later this year. Now I will turn over to my colleague David Massey, who is our social media guru, and who will tell you which are the good ways of participating in Codex work over social media. But before I give over to David, there's some finger wagging at my right.
Yes. Okay, we have received one question. By the way, let me introduce myself. I forgot that part. My name is Renata Clark, and I'm the head of the Food Safety and Quality Unit here at FAO, and I am also the head of this Food Safety Technical Network. We have one question, so before we hand over, I would like the chance to reply. And the question was whether the change in the Codex website implies a change in the balance of power between FAO and WHO. And my answer to that question is absolutely no. The Codex Secretariat is based at FAO and as such is subject to FAO's administrative rules, and things like the administration of the website are among those things. FAO very much values the joint nature of the Codex Alimentarius Commission, and there is absolutely no intention to change that. We value it highly. I hope that answers the question. Now I hand over to my colleagues. David.
Hello, good afternoon. So, I'm here really to ask for your help. Not so much the people in the room, but the people watching and listening. In our work in Codex and in our many committees, we deal with complex issues. Here's an example. I shan't ask anybody to try and work out what that's about, but it's just an example of some of the things that we deal with. But in our communication, we need to be clear and simple if we want to convince people of the benefits of Codex. We deal with things like fishing in Uganda. We're concerned about the safety and quality of apples arriving in a store. We're very concerned about how crops are grown, what pesticides are used. At the moment in the Codex Secretariat, we just use three main tools. We don't have the powerful resources of the whole of the FA organization, but we try and do our part. The three main things that we've been doing over the past year are news about Codex. We tweet, and we've just got over the 2,000 threshold, which leaves us about 68,998,000 away from Katy Perry, but it's 2,000 more than we had last year. And what we're very good at is making short films. We have, in fact, a crew that's just come back from America looking at Codex throughout the supply chain. We want people to get involved. Here's an example of what I was just talking about. We went to America, we saw corn production. We looked at the corn delivery, storage, testing, packaging, and then export. All of this is Codex. This is Codex in simple human terms. So, in closing, I invite your questions. If you have a story about Codex, if you have news about Codex, if you'd like to know more about Codex, then directly through the team in the Codex Secretariat, we can immediately put that news online. We're very, very good at putting 14,000 word technical documents online. We want to be better at putting news stories about Codex online, because Codex is both sides of this. So, you can tweet now, you can write to us. There are many ways to get in touch. And through the technical network, we believe there are a lot of people very well placed to give us that support, to give us that news. We can decode it, and that will help us and our audience and a wider audience understand Codex. Why is that important? We want increased participation, and part of that is being able to tell the story about what Codex does. And so with social media, that's just one small way that we contribute. Also harnessing the power of our two parent organizations. And I will pause there, happily take any questions that crop up. Otherwise, as promised, I will hand over to Mirko, who will talk about the online commenting system. Thank you.
There is one question. I'm using a different microphone. I hope the online people can hear me. From Vigdis Veum Møllersen, she says, I have used the short films several times. They are very useful, however, focused mainly on developing countries.
Then watch this space, Vigdis. Good to see you, hear you. The American video, which is just being produced, which I showed you some shots from, is exactly about a developed country and looking at Codex right across the supply chain. And of course, if you'd like to invite us to Norway, then we'd be very happy to come and produce something about Codex in your country too. So we're aware of that. We're looking at both sides, and the next short video which we produce will be from the planting the corn in the field, to the factory, to the export, to the Codex meeting, to the political aspect. It will cover the complete supply chain right through to consumer associations, also including, of course, industry. So watch this space. Those of you who are on Twitter, then please, we're here, we will retweet, we will write news about you, and we're also just launching a photographic competition very shortly leading up to our commission, which is another opportunity for you to show in your area, in your life, in your reality, how Codex operates. So those are two things that we'll be harnessing together with WHO and FAO. So please tweet, and we'll be very happy to respond, and certainly find out the answer if it's something technical. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation to the from the Food Safety Network. Thank you, David, for the introduction. My name is Mirko Montori, and I'm working for the Codex Alimentarius Secretariat. And my task today is introducing you with the new Codex online commenting system, which is basically a web-based tool enabling Codex members and observers to insert, share, and submit comments on draft standards. So the system is already available at the link below, which is ocs.codexalimentarius.org, and will be officially launched for the Codex Alimentarius Commission being held at the end of June this year in FAO. My session will basically focus on 5 major points. First of all, we'll introduce the Codex process for standard setting, how you contribute to the setting of standards and comments on them. Secondly, we'll explore the benefits of an online tool such as the OCS. We'll then move to the user requirements that have been the leading power and source for developing such a tool. And we'll finally go a bit more into depth into the major functions and features of the system with a very short demo. And finally, we'll discuss the way ahead. Now, the current system enables Codex members and observers to submit comments at several stages or steps of the standard setting process, namely 4 of them. And this is usually done via email. So individual emails are sent at different steps by the Codex contact points to the Codex Secretariat, which is the organization, the Secretariat that really merges all the comments together and put them in a unique document, resulting actually in a possibility for human error as well. Now, in the past, we've been also noticing that some of the countries were using faxes or other kind of outdated tools. One alternative option to this is the teleconferencing and webinars such as this one. But could you imagine gathering comments from different sources with different time zones at different times? The problems of versioning and version history are always there. Here comes the solution. The online tool produced by Please Tech, which is called Please Review, and we renamed Online Commenting System. So this system is basically designed to have a number of benefits, but especially, as mentioned in the slide, to be quicker, more inclusive, more accurate, more efficient, easy to use and access. So in addition to those principles, the system actually ensures the confidentiality of comments and the fact that comments are only sent via the official contact points of Codex. It also enables a common commenting format, which is very important when we compile the comments and we distribute them for the following meetings. And finally, it reduces the possibility for human error and missing some of the points that were done and made by the contact points. So what are the requirements that led us through the development of this new system? First of all, we have a user structure in place that includes a secretariat or a host country secretariat, which is the entity which is basically uploading the documents on the system and sharing them with the contact points, which are in our system called OCS managers, and they are mandatory users, also just one per country, that are enabled to perform all the actions available in the system, which are updating the reviewers' accounts, so the other levels of users, sharing comments internally and externally, and also accepting comments made by others and publishing them to the Secretariat. Another important function is that of the deputy, which some of the countries requested, which is a figure which can perform basically the same actions as the contact point, but is someone who's delegated to use the system in its place, with the sole exception of not being able to submit comments back to the Secretariat, which is always, as we said, something in the power of the contact point. We then have a third layer of users, which are the reviewers, and those are some optional accounts, so optional users, that can be used in order to gather comments internally in a country or organization. Now, we just briefly prepared 3 cases for the workflow in the system that include a first case with very basic functions, which is the one that, by experience, as this has already been used by another secretariat like the IPPC, is the one that is most commonly used. So we would typically have one contact point, so OCS manager per country, inserting comments into the system and being able to share them with some of the other contact points, and finally to submit them back to the Secretariat. So this is case 1. We have a second case where we may have a delegate, so a lead, a deputy, which, in this case we have a contact point and reviewers, and this could be the case of some regional organizations or the European Union, as per the example, where the contact point also gathers the comments made by the EU countries in this case, and then sends them on behalf of the countries to the Secretariat. A third and more complex case is where we have the full structure that was presented in the previous slide, where the manager also has a deputy and 3 reviewers per country, and also is able to share the comments with other contact points. Now, obviously there has been a number of requirements that this current system has accommodated, and they have to do with the fact that we operate in multiple languages. So the system has currently been translated into French and Spanish other than English, and it can be customized to also be used in other languages. All the documents that are uploaded into the system can be literally in all languages, and the license has been purchased jointly with the IPPC Secretariat, so this is a common effort being done with them, as well as the system is compatible with mobile devices and all the major browsers. It's supposed to be user-friendly, obviously, and customizable. Also, the users can register and be managed by both the contact points for the internal review side and the Secretariat for the external review side. We have one user and multiple roles. So one contact point of a country can be invited to be the reviewer of other countries' or organizations' accounts. We also have the possibility, as we said, to share internally and externally, to have comment categories. In this case, we have 4. So we'll have editorial, substantive, technical, and translation comments in addition to general. And finally, the system has been designed to have notifications, a search function, and the possibility to export data in the most common formats. Finally, the requirements by the Secretariat are also met by this new system through the possibility of having a compiling tool, which is literally with the click of a button, enabling the Secretariat to get together all the comments made by countries throughout a consultation. And this is how the first row of a table would typically look like. You have a paragraph number, a text and track changes with the modifications suggested by the countries, and a comment made with the author, and the comment type as well. So how does the new system look like? Here you see the login page, which is very simple, with a user login box with a username and password, a link to retrieve the password, and some other links leading to contacts and material for more assistance. The reviews page is where you redirect it to immediately after login, and this is the one including all the documents under review, sorted by date and also type of consultation. Thirdly, this is the most important page and screen in the system, because it's the document page where you get access to. It consists of basically 3 parts. One is the left-hand column, which is a navigation bar, where you can see more than one document open for comments. You then have the central part with the text of the standard, in this case, that is open for comments, and it also includes a scroll down bar, enabling you to navigate through the document. And finally, as you click on one of the paragraphs, the right-hand side column with comment boxes will appear. So that's the one where you literally enter your comment and make modifications to the text. Now, I had prepared 2 short videos for inserting, accepting, and publishing comments, as well as showing you the internal reviews process. But I will try to skip those because they're mainly part of the, that could be the object of some of your questions probably. And my suggestion here is the way ahead with the launch of the new system, as was mentioned at the Commission. We are also planning for face-to-face and presentations, as well as webinars like this that can be conducted by the Secretariat as requested. We also have a contact email, which is codex-ocs@fao.org. And finally, an OCS resource page, which is currently under development, where you will find a multilingual user manual and video. The next goal is literally the increase of participation of Codex members in the standard setting process, and particularly in the number of comments or type of comments made on our draft standards. And we really hope to make of these a team effort. So thank you very much, and done for this part. If there's any questions.
Are there any questions from the floor here before we go to the questions we collected online? If there's a question from the floor, Daniela?
Just a question, because Codex observers can also comment on documents and so on. In this case, how can they access a system if there is only one person per country and that the Codex contact?
Thank you, Daniela, for the excellent question, actually. So yes, we foresaw the participation of Codex observers in the process as well, by assigning them a license as a contact point. So as we have limitations in terms of the number of licenses assigned to the Codex Secretariat, we decided to have 5 accounts or licenses associated to the members and 1 to the observers. So observer organizations will be able to request a license to the Secretariat, and they will be able to insert their comments through one account that is assigned for them. So yes, they will participate in the process.
There are online questions. The first one from Vigdis from Norway, who states that it is important for them as the CCP to be in control of the comments from countries. And she wants to know how this is managed by the new system. She further comments that they said this is a very good step forward, but she just needs to be, or they need to be in control.
Thank you very much for the comment. If I understand correctly, you're saying that the requirement for Codex contact points is that of being able to access directly the system, the document in the system, and being able to send comments directly to the Secretariat and managing also their own internal reviews. If that is the case, this will be possible through the system, which is, by the way, as presented before, a very confidential system. So only the country contact point having access to the system will be able to access that specific review. So all the comments made by your country through the contact point will be listed as the contact point's country X comments.
And then there is another question from Susanna. She asked, should we as CCP authority get an invitation to join OCS?
Yes, the idea is we'll start, basically we'll launch on communication through our website and the Codex list as well, where we'll be asking the Codex contact points to be assigned a Codex license. We'll basically do that ourselves, but just to remind Codex contact points that this will be done, we'll have a news on our website as well as live demos in advance so that you get acquainted with the system before you start using the license.
Okay, so Vigdis was happy with the answer. We have Codex Argentina, who is saying whether we've noted that the WWFAO or Codex page is really slow, whether we've noticed this.
Thank you for the notice, for the note. That may probably be due to the fact that we have some internal server rearrangements these days, but yeah, we'll make sure that our colleagues in the IT divisions know. So, thank you.
Meanwhile, if there are other questions from the floor here at Theory.
Thank you. Mary Kenny from the Food Safety Unit. My question was whether you're launching and going live 100% or whether you're having a phased-in approach for the use of the new system. And the second question is also, I presume it will be used for all types of feedback and comments into Codex, whether it's a standard setting or a response to circular letter. I mean, it will be, is it going to be used for everything? All different types of call for comments. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. We'll actually have a phase-in approach where until the commission will start, we'll basically have demos and we'll try to train users to use the system. The official launch will be happening at the commission meeting, which means from that moment on, we'll select one of the committees to be operating with this new tool. And so after that, we'll start implementing. And the current plan is to fully implement the system starting from January or February next year, so early 2017, for all the consultations. And yes, the original idea was to use this to comment on draft standards only, but we are now considering also circular letters or responses. So that will also depend on the feedback we receive from our users in the first official consultation.
Hello. Sorry. Sebastian Young from the Codex Secretariat, jumping in here in the middle. I think Mirko actually mentioned it, but during the Commission meeting in the end of June this year, we will have a stand running throughout the week where people can come and actually hands-on try what the online commenting system is like to use. So there will be both a general presentation for everybody in the meeting, a side event, and then after that, throughout the week, people will come and be able to play together with Mirko and the rest of us, and we'll see how it works in practice. And one more thing that I wanted to say, I mentioned in the beginning in my talk, I mentioned the electronic forums that we use for discussions, and some of you might wonder what the relation of these are to the online commenting system. And I guess one way of differentiating these is that the electronic forums that we use is more of a it's not an official discussion going on in those, or at least it's semi-official. So discussions taking place on the platform or the forum is very useful for just developing ideas, such as would happen in an electronic working group. But once the electronic working group then has agreed on a draft that needs commenting, then that draft would go into the online commenting system and would be commented on normally, or as normally has been done through letters to the Secretariat. So that's the big difference.
Questions?
Can I ask? Okay. We have some online questions. Sorry, just otherwise we might lose them. So there is the first one from OIE. They ask how the compiling tool works at Secretariat level.
Thank you for the question. The consultations have a start and end dates that are assigned at the beginning of the process by the Secretariat after the document is uploaded, and also users are invited to the review. So at the end of the consultation period, the Secretariat is enabled to just click on the compiled comments page, which is actually called Reconciliation Reports page, and with the click of a button has the ability to download a Word version of all the comments together. So in my previous slide, we could see an example of the first row of such a compilation. We will simply have a table like that with multiple rows, obviously, with the comments made by different countries being downloadable directly from the compiled comments page.
Then a second question from Codex Argentina. Which are the differences between HTTP www forum Codex Alimentarius net and PleaseTech?
I think it's exactly what Sebastian was mentioning. So the Codex forum is the former is a tool that has been used by certain committees in order to gather some informal feedback on a number of issues, intersessional issues. The second, PleaseTech/Please Review, or on OCS, let's say, tool, is going to be used by the Secretariat in order to send draft standards for review and so forth comments. Therefore, the Secretariat will use. I mean, the two tools have different functions, and different documents will go there for comments. Yes.
Just Sebastian coming in here again. Adding to what Mirko said, I think you are not able to understand what a big change this online commenting system is before you actually start using it. But I can assure those people who have been commenting on Codex draft standards earlier and seen how cumbersome that is and how difficult it is to align comments coming from several countries when they are listed after each another. This new system, the please review system, will enable us to actually read the document and see for every little word, for every little paragraph in that document which has been commented upon. You can at a glance, you can see all the comments that have come in on a particular paragraph, and also in different languages. So, at least personally, I've always found it very confusing to read through comments from countries and trying to see what part of the draft standard they are actually commenting upon. But now, in addition to producing a list of the comments that have come in, like Mirko just mentioned, you will actually be able to look at the draft standards and see exactly where comments have been placed in the draft standard. Thank you.
Marcus Lip, Food Safety Unit. Just a small little detail, but it has irked me in the past regarding the website and the document downloads. Will bulk download of documents become available? And if so, when?
Thank you, Marcus, for that question. Sebastian here again. We are working on this, and the initial plan has been to have a button on the documents distribution or meeting page by the end of May. I don't know whether we'll quite get there, but we'll try to make it before the commission meeting, because we do realize that it's troublesome to go and click on each and every document that you want to load down. So we're going to have a document by which, pushing that document, you will have one file containing all the documents of the meeting. Thank you.
Yes, basically the bulk download function, which is on our IT to-do list with multiple entries. So yes, we'll try to get this done certainly by the commission.
I have a question from Sante Codex. They ask how to submit general comments not related to a specific text.
That is possible actually in two ways in the system. One can be done by entering the document and pulling up a comment at the beginning of the draft, and marking is basically as a general comment. And secondly, when you close the review and you close the document, by adding a general comment at the documents level. And this one appears in a separate box in the compiled comments table, basically. So yes, that can be done, and it can be done in two ways in order to facilitate the gathering of comments that are not related to any specific part of the text.
Okay, this is Martin Heimer from the Food Safety and Quality Unit. Thanks for this talk. I think it's excellent to establish such a system for having more transparency. I was just wondering, what's the procedure for appointing this OCS manager and the reviewers? Maybe it has something to do with this licensing.
Yes, thank you for that. So as I was mentioning, the OCS managers are the Codex contact points. So those that have been officially appointed and whose list you can find on the Codex website. For reviewers and deputies as well, that's all a matter of internal procedures. So every country or organization is able to decide whether to have such an internal structure or not. And if so, they can assign the licenses to anyone in the country or even outside of the country. So it's really a matter of their own internal policy. This being said, obviously, at the beginning, we'll be assigning the licenses to those who request them, so the additional ones, the 4 additional ones. And for those who are not requesting it because they don't need it, they won't be able to have such a tool. So once we'll communicate that we are about to create Codex user accounts for contact points, who are the OCS managers, we'll also request what are the countries what are the contact points willing to have such an internal review process. And then we'll gather the feedback and create the user accounts for them at first. Then, once created, they will be able to manage them. So if they are in need to continuously change the licenses and the people assigned to work on these, they'll be able to do so independently.
There is a question from Roberta Aloy. Can only the nominated delegates upload comments?
The OCS managers, CCPs, are the only ones able to send comments back to the secretariats. By secretariats, I mean Codex secretariat or host country secretariat, depending on the type of review that is being done. But the reviewers and deputies will be able to insert comments into the system and share them among them if needed. But obviously, they won't be able to send them back to the secretariat as the official comment by the X country. So they will be able to insert and share, but not to submit the final comments. Okay, probably another question.
Thank you. Famous AFO working for Food Chain Crisis, UNFAO. My question is related to internet, to the internet connection, and if this tool takes into consideration the possible interruption of internet when you're in a country, and often the interruption that saves the document when someone is providing some comments, maybe has not finished and internet is interrupted. So just regarding to repeat the question.
Yes, yes, I repeat the question. So the question is whether the system foresee the possibility to save the comments while also offline, because there could be cases where there are interruptions in the system, and so there is a need to start all over again, probably, and to restart inserting comments in the system. So yes, the system actually enables its users to insert comments, and as they insert the comments, they are basically automatically saved into the system. They can also be further processed in the review by pushing on the accept button, which enables them to then complete the review and publish them, and so send them to the secretariats. But as they insert them in the system, they are basically automatically saved. It's a bit like the Google Documents concept, where you insert some text, and that text is automatically saved. This being said, obviously we also would have the possibility for further enhancements, but currently we don't foresee having offline versions or such a thing. But obviously the system is designed also for these cases where inserting comments doesn't result into losing data, because the data that you insert is automatically saved. So you don't have to start from scratch in case of interruptions.
There's a question from Santi Codex. Will there be a deadline for entering the comments? And what if comments are submitted after the deadline?
That's a very good question. I think it's a policy matter, and it's a policy-related question that we very much are thought about. The idea is, yes, there's going to be a start and end date, so a deadline for inserting comments into the system. The intention is allowing all the countries to do insert comments by a certain deadline, and not accept them in the system after that. But we understand that process-wise, this has not been the case in the past for Codex. So it's literally about trying to somehow educate, if I may use this word, the users to do their work within a certain time frame. But also it's a matter of allowing us to correctly and correctly post the documents and comments in time for the next meeting. So the idea is that after the deadline, we won't be accepting comments in the system anymore, but we may if this is the case, may accept late comments still, which nevertheless won't be translated into languages, because we need to establish policies that enables us to basically meet deadlines and also accommodate all the users' needs. So I hope that answers your question, but we are obviously looking for feedback on these policy-related matters as well.
Yes, Sebastian here. I would just like to underscore what Mirko just said, that we really haven't decided on the policy yet of how to regard the comments that come in too late. I think one of the reasons why we try to stick to deadlines now currently is that we actually have to compile documents and have them translated, and obviously this includes a lot of work and a lot of delays. So that's why we try to stick to deadlines currently. I think with this new system, which essentially is a real-time system, we should be able to accommodate delays at least to the same degree we do nowadays. But speaking to my European colleagues who presented this question, I think that we all realize that the earlier comments come in from countries, the better they can be incorporated into the views of other countries. So I think we should all strive to be as coordinated as an early stage as possible. Thank you.
Any more questions from here?
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank all of the participants for this lively discussion. Thank you to the Codex Secretariat for preparing the material for this. Just to remind you, like I said at the beginning, the technical networks are a way of keeping us connected and responding to things that we need to know. We will continue to liaise with the network members to try to understand what are the questions you have and what information we can provide to allow you to do your work. So we will be continuing with this and communicating with you, looking forward to your feedback. And with that, I'd like to say goodbye or good evening or good morning. Sebastian, would you like to say a farewell?
Thank you, Renata. Thank you, farewell, and apologies for those of you in Latin America who had to get up early this morning to take part. We are very glad and have taken note that you were here in great numbers. This is the first, I believe, of a series in the Food Safety Technical Network where we try to make Codex more transparent, and we try to tell about the things we are doing in Codex. We're very happy for this opportunity. I would, like David said earlier, keep on checking the Codex webpage. There's a lot of changes coming up in the coming month. So do have a look at what it looks like and try to make out, try to sort of understand all the new features. And if you don't understand them, we're happy to guide you in any way possible that you might need. Thank you very much.
So thank you everyone for having participated here, and I think we will end the meeting now. If there are any questions, I have shared the network email, and we will be sharing the presentation slides and making the recording available online via YouTube, and we'll be in touch with you. Good evening, good morning, goodbye.
Yeah, there was actually good feedback from some of the countries saying it was useful for them. It's interesting to hear. Mongolia, Bangladesh.
Yeah.